Where oh where is my disastrously cheap Maserati then? Because yeah, if you know me, running a £2,000 L322 Range Rover isn't enough punishment, and so I had to go and agree to buy what was the cheapest Maserati pretty much available anywhere back in December last year. And the fact that I'm stood next to my Range Rover and not the Maserati in question, well, that tells you a lot. This has been a purchase that has just gone from bad to worse, and I'm going to tell you exactly why in this video. But for those of you that might have missed it then, let me just give you a very quick recap. So going back to December last year, a lovely viewer of mine sent me an email offering me his Maserati Coupe, the 4200. Now, the thing with this car is that it was located up in Edinburgh in Scotland, and I was down, well, I am down here near London in England. So just going to get the car would have required a fair amount of time, effort and expense. But the thing with this car is that it was very cheap. He offered me the car for just £4,000, which for an Italian sports car containing the Ferrari-derived glorious 4.2 litre V8 seemed like a pretty good deal. But if you've been watching me for any period of time, you'll know that my version of a good deal is quite often just a deal. There's no hint of good anywhere in there, but hindsight is 2020, isn't it? But if I can just explain my headspace at the time. So I was offered this car, £4,000, very cheap for a Maserati Coupe, even though they're not the most valuable cars, but generally they sit at around £9,000 or £10,000 on the classifieds. Now, I was aware at the time that it had an oil pump issue, which, if you know these cars, it's a fairly, well, it's not a fairly common thing to go wrong, but it is a known thing to go wrong with these cars, and when it does go wrong, it requires a monumental amount of effort to replace it. The part itself isn't abysmal, sort of £2,000 if you want to buy a new one, but it's the labour that can get a little bit leery. It can be up to 20 hours or something like that just to replace this part, and there's not really any way of knowing if the part is going to work or the car's going to accept the part until you fit it and run the car. So I knew the car had this oil pump issue, but I didn't really know how far advanced it was, and it seemed like it would be possible, not necessarily advisable, but possible for me to fly up to Edinburgh, meet the owner, do the deal and drive the car home. So for me, that seemed like a fantastic opportunity to buy one of the cars that I've always wanted to own for such a small amount of money, essentially, with the knowing that it was going to need to have some money spent on it, or quite a lot of money spent on it, at least the value of the car again, at some point in the near future. But what a great content opportunity and also purchase opportunity for me. But alas, this is a 20-year-old Maserati we're talking about here, and so honestly it was never really going to be that simple. Now let me quickly say a big thank you to Rain-X for sponsoring this video. Now, is there anyone in this world that doesn't enjoy seeing rain beading off their windscreen or even their paintwork? That's why I have been using Rain-X, well, ever since I started driving. The Rain-X rain repellent is known for its hydrophobic effect, removing raindrops easily from the driver's field of vision when driving along. It helps the windscreen to stay cleaner for a longer period of time as well, preventing prolonged adhesion of things like dirt or insects. But it's not just the windscreen you can protect with Rain-X, but also your paintwork with their ceramic exterior detailer. This makes exterior surfaces water resistant and also makes them beautifully shiny. A bit like on your windscreen, this also repels water, dirt and insects, making things like this roll off your paintwork. The best thing about the ceramic exterior detailer though is it can provide long-lasting durability, protecting against regular washes and harsh weather for up to 4 months. There's a whole host of other products that Rain-X provide, which, if I'm honest, I didn't even know about all of them. From their own foam wash and wax, wheel cleaner and tyre shine, to their upholstery and carpet cleaner with repellent. Rain-X is truly now the one-stop shop for protecting your vehicle, and I'll be using it for years to come. You can find Rain-X easily, they're on Amazon, also in places like Halfords. Go ahead to the Rain-X website now using the link down below. So with dreams in my head and some money in my pocket, I decided to fly up to Edinburgh, do the deal with the owner and meet Paul at the Supercar Tech, which is where the car was being held. This is a Ferrari, Maserati, Italian car specialist, where the owner had been quoted for some work to replace the oil pump. At this point, I still thought there was a remote chance I'd be able to drive the car home, but I was ready to listen to Paul's advice, who really does know these cars in and out. Paul took me outside when I arrived up in Edinburgh and showed me the Maserati, which looked a little bit sorry for itself sitting outside the workshop, but he very quickly showed me the car, explained what was going on with it, started it up and said and demonstrated that the oil pump was essentially, it was producing no pressure, or not even sufficient pressure anywhere near enough to get oil going around everywhere it needs to go in the engine, and driving it home would be an accident waiting to happen, a very bad idea. And so, with regret, I took his advice to not drive the car home. It's actually a really, really nice car. The condition of it is lovely. The paintwork's great. The interior's extremely lovely, and there's lots and lots of paperwork and history to go with the car. It's quite high mileage, I think around 94,000, but it really has been maintained well and generally is in very good condition. And so my feeling, obviously, as a petrol head and a car lover, as much as I wanted to take the car home there and then and do the adventure driving from Scotland, I just didn't want to hurt the car. It's just silly. Even though it's a cheap car, it would just be awful to knowingly break something that's so beautiful. Now, after landing back in England, I arranged for the car to be transported back down to Southampton to Exotic and Supercar, because I've worked with them on my Maserati Quattroporte in the past and they're really great. Also happy for me to film some content whilst I'm there. So I thought that would be a perfect place to take the Maserati Coupe, because it was going to need this oil pump work. I could film some content around it, and they might also help me out with the labour rates, which is definitely going to be important going forwards. Now, that was back at the end of December, and we're now here in April, and a lot has happened, or say not a lot has happened in those 4 months. So today I'm going to explain to you where we are with the Maserati, and the good news is, I think, touch wood, we're not far off now me actually getting to drive this thing. Right, so let's go for a little drive while I explain this situation a bit more, because driving the L322 does cheer me up an awful lot. I'll try not to ramble as much as I can, although I realise I've probably done that for the entirety of this video so far. The whole point of this channel is really to bring you along for, you know, the true ownership experience of these cars, good and bad, and this is quite a bad one so far. And so here we are talking about it, because unfortunately I can't drive the car, so we have to just talk about it. And I know a lot of you want to know what's going on with this Maserati. So the long and short of it is that it is still at Exotic and Supercar in Southampton, and it is still broken. So the car got dropped off in December, and obviously Exotic and Supercar had a very, very busy start to the year, and so I wasn't able to go down there and see it until about, I think, early February, which is when I bought the oil pump online, which cost me about £800, which is significantly better already than £2,500 for a new one. So I bought a used oil pump off eBay on their recommendation. It was sent to Exotic and Supercar, and then around February I was able to go down, film a quick video with the car talking about that, and then see it was ready for the oil pump to be fitted. Now again, there were various delays that I hadn't quite anticipated when buying this car and thinking of sending it all the way down to Southampton, which meant that they basically didn't start on fitting the oil pump until I think late February or early March. So that's okay, because by this point I just accepted it was going to take a long time. And full transparency, Exotic and Supercar had agreed to help me out on the labour rates. I don't know exactly what that means. I still don't actually, I've not received the bill, but they were going to do what they could to make it a little bit more inexpensive for me. So yeah, car was going to take a little bit of time, but that's fine, because once it was done, it would be great. I'd be able to film some content with it, really enjoy it, knowing that the oil pump issue had been sorted, and you know, any other little things that come up during the way, we could tackle it. And hopefully as well, this whole thing would cost me, say, less than £3,000, and then I'm in a Maserati Coupe for around 7k, and you know, it's probably roughly what it's worth. So when I do want to sell it, you know, happy days. I've sort of enjoyed the car and not really had to pay for it. That was the plan anyway. However, taking it back towards a couple of weeks ago now, maybe 3 weeks ago, towards the end of March, I received the phone call essentially to say they had fitted the oil pump and it all seemed fine. Now, the other thing that I got Exotic and Supercar to do as well is the MOT had expired back in January, so I asked them to do an MOT for me, which they kindly did. So the car received its MOT, pretty good MOT actually, I think just a couple advisories. They also changed a ball joint because that was really, really split and just needed doing, amongst a few other little bits and bobs that actually we discussed in our video back in February. So I received the phone call to say, great, you can come pick it up, scrutineer the car for a week or so, and then we'll just bring it back and tidy up any little bits. So I thought, fantastic. And literally as I was in the taxi going to collect the car, Ash called me and said, actually mate, don't come, it seems to be leaking oil. And I thought, oh, here we go. So to be honest, this was really frustrating, because by this point I was just desperate to get the car. I'd been there for over 3 months. I'd barely sat in it, let alone driven it. I know a lot of people were asking on YouTube, where's the Maserati? Did you sell it? Did you even buy it in the first place? And I'm like, yes, I'm desperately trying to get it on the channel. So really frustrated, because I thought, I'm literally going to pick it up now and I've just been told to go home and I don't know what's going to go on. But I thought, you know, the oil pump's been fixed, the engine's now circulating oil, there's probably a minor leak somewhere else. It might just be something actually that we can live with. But no, a couple of days later, after they were able to do some further analysis, turns out, and you can probably see what's coming here, the oil pump that was purchased was faulty. So after the couple of days of labour fitting the oil pump, I got the call to say, unfortunately, the oil pump's going to have to come out and we're going to have to get another one. Which I just thought, you're joking. Because you know the £7,000 ballpark figure I had in my head. Well, having to buy another oil pump, presumably a new one this time at £2,500, well, that was just going to blow the whole budget, the whole project, if you like, out the window and not really make it at this point a financially headstrong car anymore. You know, my heart's fully in it at this point, so that would probably have all gone out the window. But at this point, it's like, the car, I'm going to make a loss on this car. It's not a good decision. I was doubly frustrated at this situation as well, because, you know, it's just taken so long. You know, if the oil pump had been fitted back in January and we ran into this hurdle, you know, okay, we're dealing with this problem in January. I've only had the car a month. We'll get it back on the road fairly soon. But now we're well into April. The weather's getting really nice. The sun's come out. I want to enjoy my Maserati. In fact, I had planned to take the car to Germany at the start of the Nürburgring season, which, well, I think that's a month surpassed now. And there's a bunch of car meets and things I had planned and in the diary that I unfortunately have had to miss because I just don't have the Maserati. So now this is no longer just a frustrating project, but actually one that's going to become really expensive that I hadn't quite budgeted for. And so I'm just at a loss, really, is what to do. I was considering just paying Exotic and Supercar what I owe them, getting the car recovered home, trying to make what little bits of content I can do on it, and then offering it to one of you guys for £4,000, which is what I paid, to just recoup at least the purchase cost. Obviously, all of the stuff I'd already done at Exotic and Supercar, getting it transported, flying up to get it, you know, that's just a loss, unfortunately. But then Ash called me and said that they might be able to take the oil pump out that I had purchased, take my original oil pump and splice them together somehow, because apparently it was just this gasket or this seal in the middle of the oil pump that it had failed, and they might be able to sort of use components from both to make the thing work. And to be honest, that is where we're at now. They say that the pump's back in, they need to road test it, and I'm going to find out very, very shortly whether the car it's worked or not. If it hasn't worked, well, it's back to the drawing board, isn't it? But if it has worked, they may have just been able to save this car without incurring me too much extra cost that blows the whole thing out of the water. So this week I'm anxiously waiting the test results. It reminds me of when I had to take my cat to the vet for some work, some surgery, and you're just eagerly awaiting that phone call to tell you that everything's okay. This is exactly what it feels like. So hopefully I've been able to communicate some of the frustrations that I've been experiencing with this car, where we're at with it, and also, yeah, just what's been going on. I am frustrated at how long it's taken from Exotic and Supercar side, but I understand they're just super busy and they are trying to help me out here and also work it around filming some content, and so it's just taking longer than I had planned for. But at the same time, I do appreciate they're actually trying everything outside the box to get this, you know, sorted without having to buy another part. I will mention as well that I did buy the used part on their recommendation. I didn't choose to do that, but they recommended I buy that specific part. But, you know, they couldn't have known, as I couldn't, that it was going to be faulty. And in fact, the seller of that part, after telling them that the part's faulty, they just said, no, it's not. So that's where we are with that. But my hope is that this is the last type of video like this that I'll have to make for a very long time. And the next video you'll see about the Maserati will be in the Maserati, me actually driving. I've literally been dreaming at night about driving that car. Not because, like, I'm so excited to see what it's like because, you know, it is a 20-year-old Maserati 4200. It was never the most amazing car to drive in the first place, but just the anticipation of it. I just want to know what it feels like. The paddles feel so good in your hand. I want to hear what it sounds like. It's got sports cats, apparently. I just want to know all of these questions that I don't have the answers to yet and that I can't get the answer to. And hopefully this has helped some of you guys that have many questions on the Maserati too. So there is still a chance that we can come out of this saying that it was a good purchase, but we'll have to find out, won't we? Fingers crossed, next time you see me pop up on YouTube with this Maserati as a topic, you'll see me in the thumbnail stood next to it with a big smile on my face and the keys in my hand saying, the car's back, we're going for a drive. Fingers crossed anyway. So one like equals one wish of good luck, so go ahead, do your worst in the video and like away. Comment below what you think on the situation. I know some of you might be saying that, you know, exotic and supercar have been really slow, but you know, I've just come to terms with the fact that this is taking a long time. All I care about at this point is that the car is going to be fixable, drivable, and I'll be able to enjoy it, and you guys will be able to experience it too. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you in the next one very, very soon. Oh look, I've crashed into a tree. But if you've been watching me for any period of time, you'll probably have learned that my version of a good deal is, well, quite often just a deal. There's no pit. There's no what? There's no hint of good. Okay. But if you, these will be good outtakes, won't they? Ah, how am I going to get those out? Got them. Let's start this puppy up. That does sound like that infamous chain rattle, doesn't it? We'll add that to the list of repairs. Oh wait, I ran out of money.